Hello. Hey, everyone. How are you this morning?
Doing great. How is everybody else? Good to see you all.
Good to see you too. Hi, Kate. Hi,
Hi,
Sheila.
it's great to be here.
Sheila is muted and her camera's off right now. I'm not sure if she's having some technical difficulties, but I'm sure she'll jump on in a minute. Such a great topic we're going to be talking about today. For those of you who are just joining us and just really realizing what we're doing here, we are a collective of practitioners under the umbrella of Alternative Healthcare Solutions. And I'm your host, founder, and visionary, Jamie Lee, and I'm also a certified health coach helping people reverse autoimmune diseases. And today we have such a great topic. I think that this goes across all what everybody does in our collective. It's so important. We're going to be talking about the toxic free life. And that is I feel like it can be so burdensome to even go down that toxic free path. When you start to really go down the rabbit hole of toxins, it is mind-blowing how much toxins we have in our environment, in our body, in our emotions. And not just toxins, we're talking like this is across the board for toxic relationships, toxic behaviors. And this, each one of our practitioners are going to be addressing some form of the toxic free life. So I'm so super excited about this. And I'm just glad that we have the ability to address this. I think it's so important. So I'm going to go through and kind of introduce each one of us, or let you guys introduce yourself, I should say. Um, and I'm not sure what's going on with Sheila. Is she okay? She got any issues going on? She's just off camera. Sheila, if you're hearing us, you're welcome to come on live the camera and unmute your mic. If not, pop on when you're ready. But anyways, there you are. Yay!
Hey.
So I'm a nutritional health coach, like I said at the beginning, and I help people reverse autoimmune diseases. And the very first step is always to address the toxic load in a body. We always test how many toxins they have. It's really important for cellular repair, cellular structure, and to be able to really help them find those that or get to that point where their body is really healing and in a healing state. Your body has the ability to self-heal and repair itself. You just have to help it along and get that body into that healing state. But I'm going to go ahead and let you guys introduce yourself. So that's kind of what I do and what I'm going to be contributing to today's topic. And Kate, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and how you're going to be contributing to today's topic?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so excited about this topic because it affects every aspect of our lives. So, I work as an energy healing practitioner. I work with both people and animals. And with this conversation, when we really look at the physical body and the energy body, it's affected by our environment greatly. So, not only our internal environment, but our external environment. And so, a lot of us hear the term toxins, but toxins can show up in so many different ways. And I'm excited to explore that today because it's not only like chemicals, there's toxic environments, there's toxic relationships, and there's toxic sounds that can affect the physical body. And so, but I do want to encourage people as we go through this discussion. Jamie talked about the big rabbit hole that you can go down. But truly, as we have this conversation, let it be something that's empowering to you, that you can maybe like learn, okay, what can I do? There's a lot that can be done and needs to be done, but it can be very empowering once you learn how some of these toxic things affect the body, and ultimately moving them out can help heal the body.
Yes, yes. Great point. And that's, I'm so glad you brought that up to not feel overwhelmed going down the rabbit hole. I think that's what we're here to do is support those people, those individuals who are looking for those solutions and, feeling overwhelmed in our toxic society, and just giving them practical everyday advice to be able to implement for creating those strategies. I mean, it's a toxic mindset to even be OCD about toxins. It really is. I'm not saying that we should just, ignore toxins. I think they're so, so, so important. But having knowledge, having strategy, and having information, like having resources, that combination provides you with the ability to do your best to live toxic free. So thank you for pointing that out, Kate. And Jody?
Yes. Hi, everyone. I'm Jody Solberg. I am a certified master hypnotherapist, and I use multiple modalities to help individuals and families to be able to learn how to shift those toxic mindsets and to be able to shift things like toxic thoughts into be more empowered to be intentional about what we are allowing in to our minds, and in my own personal health journey, absolutely what we're allowing into our bodies, because our societies can be very toxic on multiple levels. And so I help people to heal from all sorts of different kinds of toxicity, whether that is the toxic negative self-talk, the toxic types of messages that we're programmed with, as well as those negative and often toxic relationships that we're in that can affect us mentally and emotionally, but also physically, because our mind body connection is so strong. And so, this is such an important conversation. I'm so glad that we're doing this. Like you said, Jamie, it just speaks to all of our strengths. We can all speak to different aspects of this personally and professionally. And so, I just invite everyone to be open, and exactly like Jamie and Kate were just saying, focus on the things that you can have as tools and resources and things that you can implement. Focus on those things that you can be proactive about and release the rest, because there's only so much that we can do, and we can focus on our healthy decisions, our healthy behaviors, our healthy choices. And we can't always control everything in our environment. And so it's really important to focus on what you can do and then release the rest and live your life. Because sometimes I know we can get, like you said, very obsessive about, the toxicity. As soon as you become aware, sometimes we become hyper aware. And so allow yourself to find a couple things today that you might be able to implement and start focusing first on those.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we invite you to drop your questions in the chat. As you start to hear each one of us kind of introduce ourselves, you're going to see kind of our areas of expertise. You can direct it directly towards us. But typically, even if it is, let's say, a nutritional aspect of detoxing, there is a mindset aspect, there is a emotional aspect, and there is a chemical aspect. So there is each question can really go across the board for each one of us. So just know that you're really tapping into multiple resources here. So, okay, Sheila, go ahead.
Hey, I am Sheila Gardner, and I am a voice and wellness coach. And one of my specialty areas is essential oils. So I'm also known on social media, as well as I have my Gardner team page, but also as the oil mom. So everything essential oils. And so that's kind of my focus. And this is exciting for me with this topic because there are some simple changes that you can make in your life, in your lifestyle, to kind of detoxify, if you will, and reduce that toxic load. And so learning how essential oils play a part and how they can, basically complement what you're doing and help you to reduce that. And also smell good too, right? But there's lots of areas there where they can play a role, and also within even different products and supplements. And so that's an area that I've been really working on and absolutely loving it as I have discovered more and more in that.
Beautiful. I love it. you're actually new to the team, and we're so excited to have you. We've been looking for someone to represent your knowledge base, like, of essential oils for a while. So we're so excited that you're here. It's very important to understand that even in oils, there are toxins. If you're getting poor quality oils, off the shelf, you're actually introducing more toxins into your body, than what you think that you're doing. You think you're just grabbing, something cheap and affordable and the benefits, but very powerful information today. So let's see. So the way the structure of this event goes is how we do this is what we'll do is we'll have questions. We poll the audience and ask them throughout the week, questions for our expert roundtable, and I'll be dropping that in the chat as we go along. However, like I said, if you have any questions, drop them in the chat for us, and we'll be able to answer those, hopefully. If we can't get to all of the questions that you have provided for us, we do have an event coming up at the end of the month. It's on Saturday, the 24th. That event is going to be an all-day event. It's not going to be live streamed, so you actually have to register for that event. But it runs from 8 a.m. Central Standard Time to 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. And each one of our experts will be diving into their subject matter, their expert subject matter, on a deeper level. So you're just going to get a glimpse of what we're talking about today, of what we'll be talking about at the end of the month on the 24th. So it's going to be a powerful, and we don't have everybody here today, unfortunately, but we will have more practitioners on the 24th that will be addressing different areas of the toxic life, the toxic mindset, the toxic, every area. We've got a quantum healer that's going to be speaking as well, I believe. So really just diving in and learning from all different aspects. So it's meant to be empowering, educational, and really uplifting, just finding those people that you resonate with and learning what they have to offer. I think that that's so important when we're going through, and there's a world of misinformation out there. There's a world of good information out there as well. But when you begin to go down that rabbit hole, it can be very overwhelming. So we just want to be able to offer that support. So I'm going to go ahead and jump in with some of our questions here, and each one of us will kind of just take turns addressing the questions. But first, I want to kind of to bring up this couple of studies, and I think this is partly why I'm so passionate about this topic, is because if you realize, the amount of just environmental toxins, the toxic emotions, and our toxic environments, how much they affect us as in the womb. So when you're born, you have already been born with a toxic load, emotionally, physically, in your DNA. There's so many toxins all across the board that we're already starting out with in life. So, when people think about toxins, they don't really understand that or take that into account. But there was a couple of studies here. I'm just going to throw this in the chat. Let's see if I can drop it in here and do two things at once. I'm sometimes multi-talented. So, in a study for the Environmental Working Group in the United States, 2 major laboratories tested the cord of 10 newborn babies for 413 chemicals. They found that the blood in the baby's cords contained an average of 200 industrial chemicals and pollutants. So think about that. If you are, if you think about how we were born, how our ancestors were born as well, coal miners, you name it. There's so many toxin levels that we were literally put on this earth within our bodies that we're starting out on. There was another study that was done, and I'll give the resource link to that one as well. But this was another one that I had read, and it's just unbelievable. This was another study. This was done by the Red Cross, but the Red Cross said that of the 287 chemicals were detected in umbilical cord blood, we know that 180 cause cancer in humans or animals. 217 are toxic to the brain and the nervous system, and 208 cause birth defects and abnormal development in animal tests. And that's from the Red Cross study. So, I mean, just looking at that alone tells you, that our starting point on this earth is toxic load. But I want to go into the emotional aspect as well. We inherit the emotions, uterine emotions, and thought patterns, toxic thought patterns from up to 6 generations. Like, that's a massive amount of thought patterns and beliefs and everything that we can inherit at birth through our DNA. And so I just wanted to kind of approach it from that angle, just saying that you may consider yourself, oh, I don't really have toxins, I'm a pretty crunchy person, I don't really go. Well, bad news. You were born into this earth already with toxins. And I know that sounds pretty overwhelming, but like I said, today what we're offering to do is to provide you with some solutions and some direction in that journey of finding that toxic-free life, to be able to really transform your health and mental health, right? So we do have some, let me see here. We'll go into our first question. I guess we'll go for it in general. This one here. Our first question from the audience is, where is the number one place to check for or eliminate toxicity in general? So anybody want to jump in on that one first?
Sorry, I was muted. Well, I think, it depends on your situation as far as where to go first. Pardon me. Number one, if you're dealing with an autoimmune condition or something like that, there is tremendous value in actually getting testing done. And so that's where I would actually refer back to you, Jamie, as far as what's the best place to testing and to do testing and so on. I know there's hair mineral tests that can be done. There are blood tests that can be done. There's a lot of actual testing to identify if there's specific problems. As an energy healer, I take a slightly different approach, and I use something called muscle testing to just ask the body, what's the highest priority of toxins to release and in what order. And when you look at, finding and releasing things, it does tend to be more of a general process, a slow process, that kind of detoxifying one thing at a time. But as far as where to check, there's toxins in our physical body, there's toxins in our emotional body, there's toxins in our spirit, everywhere. So I would say, what is the symptom that you're dealing with? And if you have a certain symptom, then start looking there. So if your main area of concern is you're dealing with depression, emotional anxiety, that type of thing, then you want to look at toxins in that way and what would be contributing to anxiety or depression. And so sometimes that might be emotional or relationship toxins. If you're dealing with an extreme physical autoimmune condition and there's specific symptoms, then it's probably more beneficial to look at what is causing a physical toxin in the body. And that's where some different testing can come into play. So that's how I would approach it.
That's a great way to answer. I'm right there 100% with you. Really looking in and seeing what is the area of concern that you're most concerned about. And it may be layered. You may have emotional toxic buildup, but it is directly related to a physical toxic buildup as well. So if you're feeling those, which when we neglect that is when it transforms into the autoimmune condition. So really make sure that you're being mindful that if I'm feeling that those toxic, or you even know that you've been in toxic relationships or toxic environment that you were raised in. Maybe your parents were very toxic people and still are. Maybe a spouse was toxic, or a work environment very toxic, emotionally, and you're starting to see those symptoms come up where you're feeling just like you're spotting it. It's there. You're seeing it and you're very sensitive to it and you're very aware. Then that is your intuition saying, we can't handle any more of this, right? But when we neglect that, just think of it as the flashing light on your vehicle, of warning, we need this repaired, we need this taken care of. Because if not, that's when we go into the physical elements and start kicking in the symptoms and the problems in our autoimmune. So great answer, Kate. Sheila, did you want to touch on this one real quick?
Well, sometimes that can be tricky, where to start. But like she said, if you've got some autoimmune issues or there's some things going on, definitely you want to, check into those and see what could be happening. I know for me, sometimes I had to look at diet, right? I had to look at what I was eating, what I was putting in, as my fuel, if you will, and say, okay, I need to revamp some things, and what can I do to supplement as well? And then also looking at some of the products that we use on a regular basis, some of the oils that we use that can help with detoxifying, which I know lemon oil is a great oil for that. And if you put a little lemon in your water in the morning, first thing, sometimes that is a great oil to use in that area. And so sometimes just something so simple, right? Just to start to work through that and say, hey, I can do this. And it doesn't have to be very complicated, but that's one simple change. And just looking at those things that are going in, things around us too, all these different chemicals that we're exposed to, even just early in the morning when we first get up and we're getting ready for the day. I made a list of things and how we can reduce, right? Or things that we can look at and say, okay, what can I do here to check and see, am I using clean products? Check those labels, right? I mean, you get up in the morning, you wash your face, you brush your teeth, your hand soap, your body soap. It can seem overwhelming, right? But if you start with small things that you think about, that are coming into contact with your body, either on the skin or internally, and start to look at those things and start to read those labels and say, okay, what's in my products, right? What am I putting on my body or in my body? And just by making some simple switches, some simple changes, sometimes you can start to eliminate those toxins very easily. It's some very simple ways that you can do that. So
yes, absolutely, I agree. Great answer. And Jackie, do you have anything to contribute on that matter?
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree with all of you that we have to look at a lot of times what are those root causes. When Jamie was talking about those studies, that when we're born with this load already. Like you said, it's not just about the environmental toxins and the things that they can test in the blood. It is about those toxic emotions or those patterns that we inherit as well. And so really looking at what are you putting in, yes, physically, but also what are you putting in mentally and emotionally? What are those things that you're exposing yourself to now? Then we can go back and look at some of those roots from, when we're born and preborn as well. And that's something that is really important because often we're replaying out those toxic patterns in our lives. And so don't add to it. So look at what you are putting in, what you're ingesting, and what you're putting on your skin, as well as what are you exposing yourself to on a daily basis? Because, that can exacerbate, like you were saying, Jamie, those physical conditions. It can also cause that when your body is reacting to that toxic load internally on multiple levels. And so it is tricky to say, what is that number one place to look at? But I think just what are you putting in general is a great first place to look. What are you putting in to your mind? What are you exposing yourself to with your environment and your body? And those are things you can do something about right now. So that's a great place to start, and then begin to look a little deeper and look at those root causes of whatever those presenting symptoms are for you.
Yes, beautiful, beautiful. I love that. I think it's, checking even just in general, like, the toxins in your own environment is such a key point that you brought up. Um, you know, I'm super excited about the 24th event. And here's one of the reasons why. We're actually going to be onboarding a new practitioner into our collective, and she is a blood analyst. And she has the most amazing testimony, and we're going to be sharing her testimony during testimonial hour. But I'm just going to give you a peek into her testimony because it's so, so important. But she was in a car accident and had a massive brain injury. And for 6 years, she went without being able to speak and without being able to walk. And she was on 70 different medications. And when she went to her final doctor to kind of just ask, what can I do about, my chronic pain? I'm in so much pain. The one thing they did was say, this is normal. You should expect this. And here's another prescription, and wrote her another prescription. And intuitively, and this is one of the reasons why we really preach intuition, right? If you have an intuitive thought as to where those toxins are coming from or what is the root cause, dive into that and find a practitioner that is going to be able to help you. But for her, she walked away from that doctor's appointment and said, I may have a brain injury, but I'm not stupid. I want to start with food. And that was her intuition showing her. And then the next step was she found that there were neurotoxins in her environment, and going through the neurotoxins and things and products that she was using and realizing how much she was contributing to that damage in her own body. So again, I don't want to, give it all away. She's a powerful testimony today to see how you can heal your body naturally, as well as so many of our practitioners in this space. I mean, I think that that's what really lights me up, is hearing everyone's stories and knowing that, they've done the impossible, right? What the doctors have called impossible, they've done the impossible, and you can too. It's not as hard as it sounds. So one of the questions that we have here coming up, I just want to kind of address. This was from one of our audience members. And this is, having been diagnosed with breast cancer recently, I'm wondering what are some of the biggest culprits in daily life that I could be unknowingly subjecting myself to. And this is really, really, important when you're going against cancer. This is one of those areas that can be terrifying, because you have, the option of going the conventional route or the non-conventional route. And I know from experience that it's like someone just set a timer. It's like someone just set a timer to what you're going to be from okay to, in pain or death, or not be able to take care of yourself. So there's a window, and that experience can be traumatizing in itself. So for me personally, how I would answer this, if having just been diagnosed with breast cancer, one of the biggest toxins for breast cancer has been in the plastics in our water. And, avoiding those types of plastics, one of the biggest causes has been, well, there's two big causes. One is women are using their bras as a cell phone holder, like just sticking their phone right there. I mean, that is a huge cancer causing, we're putting all of those frequencies into our breast, and that can be a cause of breast cancer. But again, our water bottles, there's so many neurotoxins and toxins in our water bottles. Whenever the water bottle is heated up, those plastics are releasing into the water, and we're consuming those, and it's getting into our bloodstream and everything else. But really going back to, again, testing, finding what that toxic load, because you're desperate in need of your cells to be regenerating healthy cells. And it's possible. It is very, very possible. So finding out what that toxic load in your body is, and start to remove them. You want to look for heavy metals. You want to look for mineral deficiencies. You want to look for, environmental toxins. And there are simple lab tests that you can do. I provide those lab tests, and I know several of our other practitioners do as well. But you can go through and get a full report, and then start researching those toxin levels that are found in your body, and where are they in my environment? Are they in my shampoos and conditioners? Are they in my Stanley cup? Stanley cups are one of the most popular drinking cups right now, and that people are buying off the shelves and putting cute little labels on. But they have been known for heavy metals. They're full of toxins. And so we don't even realize that. We're just going with these trends. And yes, I'm drinking more water. I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. But really starting to find what your body is battling, and then start there. Look for those in your environment. So that would be my answer. And I know you guys have some things to contribute here too as well.
So yeah, I'll jump in here too. So, there's so many, and I love the fact that Sheila, you talked about, you made a list this morning of what things do you encounter right now with just our daily products. And so one of the things I would say is just look at your home environment and start making some swaps within your home environment. Some of the biggest culprits are just things we use to clean our home, and a lot of times things that, hey, our bedding, our carpets, our all kinds of stuff, there's toxins hidden within. And so, and depending on what season you're in, whether you're closed in and the windows are shut and, that type of thing, you can be in a situation now where you're absorbing toxins from the paint, you're absorbing toxins from the carpets, you're absorbing toxins from, the cleaning products that you use to keep your house clean. And so there's a lot of really simple things. If we go back to, I always try to suggest is make one swap and stick with that, and then make another, and take a baby step, swap one thing at a time. If it's overwhelming, if you're the type of person that says, I can dive in and do it all, then go for it. But when you look at just even the cleaning products that you use, and Jamie mentioned a lot about the water you drink, it is so important, because there's water not only from what are you drinking it from, a plastic bottle, a Stanley cup, or at the same time, can you filter your water and just drink out of a glass? And so let's go back to before all of our technology, and what was the most natural, purest way to consume or clean something generations ago. So there's a lot that if we look back to history, we can say, okay, well, people drink out of just glass. So maybe that's how you should drink your water. Yes, it's good if you can get a filter, but okay, I'm going to just drink out of glass. Or I'm going to just clean with vinegar or something like that. There's simple things that you can do to just swap. And I know there's a lot of tools and resources out there. There's a lot of very good quality products out there that have removed a lot of chemicals and toxins, but making those simple swaps and just knowing that that's your everyday environment. So cancer and other diseases, they don't develop in a day. They develop over time. They develop over years. Jamie shared at the beginning about how we're born with toxins. So your body is constantly filtering things out. You have organs and glands in your body that are designed to filter out toxins. But if you're overloaded, it's because of what's daily going on with you. And so look at, what do you do daily? I daily sit in this office. So what can I do in my office to make it a clean environment? I drink water all the time. What can I do to make that more clean and healthy, and so on? So that's kind of how I approach things.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Love that. Sheila?
Well, I was going to add to that one of the things that I have done over the last few years, and I agree with Kate, is picking something and making that swap, going more natural. And one of the things that I have started doing is making a natural deodorant. So, there's a lot of aluminum in deodorants, and so you're putting that under your arm. So I make a simple deodorant. Basically, three main ingredients that I use is coconut oil, arrowroot powder, and I also use some baking soda. Some people are sensitive to that, so there are some other clay versions that you can use. And then I add in my favorite essential oils, and then I mix it up together and I put it in a jar, and that's how I use it. And so it isn't going to be like your stuff that you find at the grocery store or at the drugstore. You are going to have to, reapply it within 12 to 24 hours probably, but it's natural. And, because we are made to sweat, right? We got to get those toxins out. And so I absolutely love making that swap, right? And then putting something more natural. And so that's what I do. I've been doing that for several years now. And just little things, by just making, like she said, a swap. Maybe it's your shampoo, your conditioner, your hand soap, your body soap, looking at those things and then checking to see what's in there and then saying, hey, I'm going to make this swap this month. And then maybe looking at some other areas that you can do that as well. And I think by doing those small changes, it's always the small steps. That's what I tell, clients. I tell students of mine, anybody, I say, you know what, it's those small steps and that consistent daily effort that begin to make that difference. And over time, you look back and you see how far you've come. And, I think that's the big thing, not to get so overwhelmed with it, but those small choices every day.
And I would add to that, Sheila, that, that was clearly your area of finding something that was necessary for you to change. Does that mean we all have to make our own deodorant? No, but maybe the biggest toxic load you have in your house is laundry detergent. And, just finding a new brand of laundry detergent that is toxin free is a very quick switch that you can make. I know deodorant, I went down that path a long time ago with deodorant as well. Kudos to you for making your own deodorant. That's amazing.
It's very simple. I even have a video on my pages that I linked there where people can see how easy it is. So.
It is simple techniques. And for me, the laundry detergent would be more simple in my overwhelmed state to say, okay, I'm just going to do laundry detergent and buy. We ended up using what we do use. Gosh, I can't even remember what they're called. They're just a little mineral stone that you just wet and use under your arms, and it is all natural and pulls out. Your body is still able to detox, but it pulls away the smell and everything else. But just finding that area to say, okay, I'm not willing to make this ingredient. You may not be willing to make the laundry soap. To me, that was important, but or the deodorant, which was important to her. But finding that area where you say, okay, I know that I can do this, or even just finding a company that you align with, because there are companies coming out now that are very mindful of environmental, physical, toxins and that's what they've specialized in. And, so finding those companies and be able to replace everything just from one company is phenomenal to have it shipped to your door. So things like that, I wholeheartly agree. Find the one thing that you may not be willing to make your own laundry soap. That may be exhausting to you and you'd rather buy the packaged of something non-toxic, but find that one thing, like Kate was saying, it's her water, that she does every day. So find that thing that you resonate with that says, okay, I'm going to start here, and a lot of times that is literally the intuition that we're talking about. When you're finding that thing that comes to you and resonates with you and says, yeah, I think I want to eliminate this. This is easy. That is your intuition leading you to something that may be causing a major disruption. So Jody, I'm going to throw it to you. Great
Yes.
comment, Sheila.
Yes, such a great tip so far. And as somebody who has a lot of personal experience with this and working with my personal integrative hormone specialist and integrative oncologist and trying to do a lot of prevention, I agree with all of what you said. I think that unprocessed or as minimally processed as possible, if we can do that in as many areas as we can, it reduces a lot of that load on your body. Your body then, gets a little bit of a break from having to process all of those toxins, and it can really focus on your healthy cells and making sure that it's flushing those things out. When we are overloading, like you were saying, Jamie, and Sheila as well, we're putting the cell phones here, we're putting all the chemicals like right where our lymph nodes are under our arms, when we're, loading ourselves up with our laundry detergent, all of these things that are touching our bodies and that we're immersed in all of the time. It's a lot on your body to have to deal with. And so we want it to be able to work as optimally as possible. And, there's as much mindset here and the trauma of a diagnosis like this as there is the physical, right? So really looking at some of those culprits can be our own thoughts and our beliefs and our environment, other people's stories and the things that we hear that cause a lot of fear in us. Our bodies are directed by our minds in a huge way. And of course, it's this vicious cycle because we can have a lot of health anxiety over a diagnosis like breast cancer. And then we also can have our mindsets and the way we're thinking about things and our beliefs about our health and about cancer when we hear a diagnosis like that, can affect our bodies and how we respond to whatever treatments that we're choosing to do, whatever we're choosing to change in our environments. And so really making sure that you are getting the support to be able to process through and release those negative emotions and that negative energy. And I know I work with Kate a lot with people on that specifically of let's help you to release and process and not hold on to that trauma, because we hold on to so much trauma and stress in our bodies. And so how do you release that? So getting that support on that so that moving forward, you're not just loading that on to your body as well. So I think it's a multifaceted approach, but really looking at, again, what are you putting in both mentally and physically?
I think that's such a great point, Jody, which kind of leads us into our next question. You know, I think that we really do have to look at the emotional aspect of this whole process. It can be so overwhelming. And really, I want to encourage you to find stillness. Find stillness within yourself, especially when there's so much information that you're inundated with research and going down and trying to find the solution to the problem. You're going to find more solutions and more direction and clear directed path in the stillness. When you are quieting your mind, when you're quieting your heart, and just being still. And one of the practices that I always teach my clients is to always sit down, put one hand on your heart, one hand on your sternum, take deep breaths, and just close your eyes and feel your body. And this may lead you to crying, which is a fantastic detoxing method. Just releasing and in that stillness, in that quietness, you can often find your next steps into that process. It may be emotional that you really need to detox from, that can be triggering some of the root causes of these issues. It could be mental. It could be that you've, put yourself in a position of feeling, other than, less than, not in your true self. So there's things that you'll be led to in that stillness. So I just wanted to encourage you there. I'm going to go ahead and go on to this next question here. What are the most common sources of I can't even talk this morning. Toxicity, physical, emotional, environmental, and how do you identify them? So that's really a deep question. That's a long question. It really is. But I'll let you, Jody, go ahead and go first.
Yeah, that's a big one, definitely.
That's a lot.
I'll speak from my expertise here, which is honestly screens, right? So all the media,
Yeah.
the commercials, the news, all the things that we get inundated with all of the time can be very emotionally and mentally taxing. And so, giving yourself a little detox from those screens and also being intentional about what we're allowing to influence us. Because a lot of times people will tell me, well, I watch this or I listen to this all the time, but I don't think it influences me. And that is not the case. If you are allowing yourself to absorb any of those messages, the other emotions, that's why I do not watch the news, because I like to read instead. That's just my preference, because there's a lot of emotion behind that. There's a lot of their own spin. There's a lot that's coming at you. If you're telling me you feel like your social media is really toxic, look at what you are participating in. Whatever you put out there, you're getting more of. If you're liking it, if you're watching it, you're just going to get more and more of that in the algorithm. And so hide those things, snooze those people if you need to. Really look at what are those top influences for you. What are you spending, or who are you spending the most time with? What on the screens are you listening to the most or watching the most? And really look at, are they making me feel better about myself and my situation, my health, the world around me? Are they making me feel worse? And then be intentional about that and edit those things. We actually have a lot more choice and control over what we're allowing in than we think we do. And that goes with relationships as well. You can look at, that's the litmus test for me is, are you feeling better about yourself, your situation, and the world around you? After you are with someone, or, watching that certain thing or absorbing that, or not. And so you can be really specific about the types of conversations or the types of interactions or how much time you spend on a certain platform or with a certain person, and really start to look at that. And I think that's the same in our physical, or in environments too, exactly what we were talking about earlier. How much of a load is that bringing to you? And is it positive or is it negative? And so that's what I would look at first and foremost, is really just what are you letting in?
Yeah, I think it's so important to check in with self, you know, um, just just really sitting with yourself and checking in. And I think you'll be surprised. You'll really be surprised as to what comes to the forefront of your mind when you're checking in with yourself. But I know that for me, in my toxic days, that was not something I ever did. That was not something I ever even considered. And if I was in a toxic relationship, it was only fed by like going from that toxic relationship experience to talking to the next person of like how horrible is this, and it just compounds. um and so really checking in with yourself of, okay, maybe you got off the phone with a toxic friend and you're just sitting there. Check in with yourself. Was that for my best and highest good to have that conversation? Was that for my best and highest good to engage in that? What could I have done differently? And just releasing those. Or like you said, on the television, turning off the news. How do you feel? Check in with yourself. How do you feel after that happened? Or maybe it's a food that you are always craving and that's your comfort food. But really check in with yourself after. How am I feeling? How is this affecting me? Am I soothing? Am I, using this in place of healing? So great points, Jody. Sheila, would you like to talk talk on this one?
Well, I mean, I have to agree with a lot of the things that she said as well. I mean, there are so many things out there. And you think of all those different levels, right, of toxicity. So the physical, emotional, environmental, and I do talk a lot about that as far as environmental too, because we are exposed to so many different things just by walking out the door and even just by living and breathing, right? So there are so many things around us. And then, of course, yes, there are things that we kind of bring to ourselves that we have to take a look at and say, hey, do I need to eliminate this, right? Whatever that might be, a situation, a person, whatever it is, maybe it's food, something that we're driven by. And so those are the types of things we just have to look at and see, okay, and just kind of be honest with ourselves. What do I need to change? What are those changes that I need to make to lessen those toxins in our lives? And so for me, I think for a while, for me, it was kind of in the food arena because I have a sweet tooth. And so one of the things that I had to look at was this is not good for me. And so I was dealing with a lot of inflammation and having all kinds of problems. So I had to eliminate that. So I had to find ways to be able to get my, to not want those things, right? Or to be a stress eater, something that I would do. And so I had to find ways to do that. And so for me, it was, just certain things that I would do to, like, because I have like a gum that I would chew, and it would have like different oils in it. And so I would put that in, and it would just kind of take that craving away, right? And get that out. So I wouldn't even think about, I wouldn't want that anymore. And sometimes it's that simple. Sometimes it's not so simple. Sometimes it's more psychological. We have to kind of, evaluate and making sure we're around people that are not toxic, right? So finding those relationships with other people too that we find are positive. And when we're around those people, do we feel better? Do we feel like, we feel good? Or does it make us feel worse? Those types of situations too. So lots to think about there. And I know everyone's going through different, it could be a physical thing. It could be emotional. It could be environmental, just something you're around too. Like the TV screens or something that is they're engaged in, and that could be something too that could be causing some detriment. So you always want to look at those things and just be honest. And I think that's the other thing too, is just being honest. Being honest with ourselves when we're in a situation or around it. Can we honestly say, what, I think I need to eliminate whatever it is, ABC, and then being able to actually do that and make that step forward. So I think that's key as well.
Very good. Yes, great tips. And Kate, do you have anything to contribute there?
Wow, y'all kind of covered it really well. It really just comes down to the fact that everything is energy. Everything's a vibration. Everything's energy, including you. And we live in an energy world, and you're an energy being. And to understand that your thoughts, your emotions are energy. And so all energy is meant to move and vibrate. And so it can become stuck or stagnant. And so really using, the suggestions that all three of these ladies gave, you can find out what energy is suppressed or trapped in your body. And of course, sometimes it's faster and quicker and easier to have support and help from somebody who can help release that energy for you. And that's obviously what I do. But at the same time, you are an energy being, and you can move your own energy. And so just even starting with what Jamie talked about, checking in and asking, I had never done that before. I had nobody ever told me that growing up. And so when I started to learn that I had just suppressed emotion after emotion after emotion, and I learned to release those emotions, I started to learn that, like, emotions, although we don't perceive them this way, they're physical. They're a physical part of your body. So what you're feeling is an integral part of how you, well, we call it a feeling, right? You feel it in your body. It's an emotion, but you feel it, but we don't think of it that way. So your emotions, your feelings can be affecting your nervous system. They can be affecting how effective your liver is working, your kidneys are working, your lymph nodes are working. And so, when we look at identifying things, we want to take it from the approach of what's physical coming at me and what's internal that I can release. And that's just the biggest thing as far as identifying, is really checking in and saying, okay, I don't feel good, or I'm concerned that too much is coming at me. Where should I start? And trust your own intuition. It comes back to that.
Yeah, beautiful. Great points. I love it. I love it that you address the energy aspect of it, because I think that's something that people haven't really gone down that rabbit hole maybe as much as they have the others, and when you start to get into the quantum world, you really start to understand what that energy is, what that means, how we are energy beings, how we create those energies, excuse me, and what that looks like in your everyday life. And great segue into this next question: how important is a detox protocol in conjunction with beginning or maintaining a clean diet and eating habits? And the reason why I say this is a great segue is because even our foods are energy and frequency. And when we are consuming foods, that is weakening our emotional energy and or strengthening our emotional frequency. So this is one of the most key points in my protocol when I help my clients to transform from autoimmune diseases, is that we create a detox strategy. I call it a detox strategy, because you're going to find things that resonate with you, that you're really drawn to. And so I always give a list of detox foods. And I say, what speaks to you on this list? Like what is, what are you drawn to? What catches your eye? And it may be cilantro. And for me, I know that if they're drawn to cilantro, like, oh, I totally love cilantro. I really feel like I'm craving that, then it could be your body indicating that you need to detox heavy metals, because cilantro is really good at detoxing those heavy metals from your body. So again, checking in with yourself, finding those things that resonate with you, and trusting intuition that's going to lead you down that path, to help you detox. But, like I said, you may have foods that you are drawn to because of the low frequency that you're in. So when you have, and let me put it this way: everything on earth has a frequency. Everything. Your emotions have a frequency. Disease has a frequency. Your body, every body part has its own frequency. And you can think about this as like even just the radio frequency. Like there's frequencies that you can tune into to find what those are. For us, that was one of the ways that we helped with my daughter's process. She went from being diagnosed with polyarticular arthritis to being completely free of that in about 90 days, but really checking the frequencies of our food, the frequencies of, everything, emotions, and really honing in on what was happening in our body. So we now use AO scan technology. I know several of our practitioners do. We also, I'm sure that's going to be brought up at the main event, is running the frequency test to see what your body is dealing with. And we offer those scans. I know Kate offers them. I know Juliana offers them. I offer them. And I think even Bonnie offers them, because it's so powerful to really identify what those frequencies are that your body is dealing with. But for me, I would say that it is essential to create a detox strategy. And that is the first thing that I do with my clients, is really I create a stress strategy and a detox strategy. And it's something that fits with their life, something that resonates with them, and that they can put into place. So let's say, to give you an example, let's say that they had an anniversary dinner, and they, and their spouse isn't on the plan and the protocol that they're on, but they want to be able to support the marriage and everything else. So they decide to go out to eat. They pick the healthiest restaurant that they can find. They pick the healthiest things on that menu, but who knows what kind of oils they used, or the cleaning sprays that they used on the griddle. And so then overwhelm comes in. Oh, did I just ruin my protocol? Did I just introduce, do all of this, or did I just damage the work that I just put into my body? And I've stressed this so many times, that even the stressful thought that you just ruined your diet is causing more toxicity in your body than what the actual diet or the actual meal at dinner did. So that's why we create that stress strategy right away or detox strategy right away, is because you can enjoy your meal, have your food, enjoy your dinner, and then the next day train your body to detox. And so by doing that, it may be kicking in. Like my detox strategy was to always go straight to dandelion tea. And, at first when I started drinking dandelion tea, hated the taste of it. Now I crave it. Now it's so yummy to me, and my body craves it. And I know when I'm craving it, my body probably needs to detox. And so I'll go to that dandelion tea and I'll have an entire mason jar. But that triggers my body and to start detoxing those toxins and releasing, the things that no longer serve me. So that's kind of how I approach that. I think it is key. It is absolutely key, because you don't want to be in stress and causing those negative emotions and negative thought patterns about your diet or about the toxins that you were just exposed to. You want to enjoy yourself, and you want to have life, and be in fellowship with people. I mean, it's so important. It's so life-giving, and just release that and just kick in your strategy. So I'll let you guys touch on that as well.
I'll just jump in then. It's, I think the importance of a protocol is, I would say, having a team, because there's things you can do when you to like with physical detoxes, for instance, that can be too aggressive, or you can detox too fast and actually create more stress on the body. However, if you have a team of people helping you develop that protocol, there's incredible power in that. I don't have the skills and the strengths that Jamie has in this area. I don't have the skills and the strengths that Jody has with the subconscious mind, and communicating with the subconscious mind. I'm really good at just asking the body what needs to be released next. And like, I would go to Sheila for an expert of, okay, how can I do swaps? How can I switch things out? And so really creating a protocol, I think it's powerful to work with a team and to think about it in a way of, okay, what is the simplest way to start? And also just releasing and forgiving yourself.
Yes.
Releasing emotions around the fact that, hey, you know what? I didn't know, like for me, I didn't know that the shampoo I was using and the things that I was putting in my body were hurting my thyroid. And so it's okay to just say, okay, you know what? All I can do is go from where I'm at right now, and then go back and say, okay, I'm going to just check in. What emotions am I feeling? And can I choose to release those now? Emotional healing support is a big, big part of detoxing. And so when you combine the mental body, the emotional body, and the physical body, and the environment, you're going to have true success. But understanding it's definitely a process, and knowing who your experts are, but taking that approach of, okay, this expert, whether it be somebody in our community, which is what I love. Alternative healthcare solutions. It's a community of practitioners that have different strengths that can work together to support healing. And so whether that be like, hey, I'm an expert, I'm good at this, I've swapped all my cleaning products, I've switched to the natural deodorant, I've done that, but I'm stressed out. Okay, well, now you need a different expert. And so working with a team, I think, is really a big, big part of creating a protocol. So
I love that. That's so great. And yes, I kept thinking about the community, like, oh yeah, like we've built an algorithm-free social media that is just for your healing journey, and like Kate was talking about. You can find more information on that. I think I have maybe, let's see. Yep. I have this link right here. You can join a-ahs.org /get-started. So if you join that community, within that space, you're going to find all of these practitioners. You're going to find all of these resources that we've provided, companies that we trust. but you're also going to find a Q&A section. So throw your questions out there, maybe just like Kate said, when she says, I've removed my deodorant, made all of my environmental toxins gone and still feeling sick. I'm not healing, let's go a step further. You can throw those questions in there in our community and really have, this collective of practitioners help guide you along. And I think it's so, so, so important, to really bring that up. So great point, Kate. Thank you for bringing that to our attention as well. And Jody.
Yeah, I completely agree. I'm such a huge proponent of having a care team. Of having that support on all levels, because we are whole people. We're not just, as often is described in our society for some reason, our mind over here, our body over here, right? It's not separated. It's truly interconnected. And so it's really key to have support in all of those different areas so that you can release emotionally, so that you can detox physically. And I love what you had said, Jamie, that that's one of the first things you do. Yes, there's the physical detox, but also that stress protocol. And so how are you processing and dealing with stress or emotions, or are you not? And you're just holding those all in. So it's very important to have, awareness first, right? That's always that first step. And then some things to implement, some tools and some resources and that care team to support you so that you can start to put those things into place for yourself, decide where you want to start, listen to that intuition, and then have that care team around you so you don't feel like you're doing it all on your own. Like Kate said, we all complement each other so well, and a lot of us work together quite often because of that, that you're able to find those different resources in this community of what's going to be the best fit for you and where you want to start in your own health journey. And so, yeah, that can't be overstated how important that is to reach out and to learn, to educate ourselves, as well as to have that support around us to guide us in that journey.
Yeah, beautiful. I love it. It really is important, and that's really why we've addressed this community aspect. I think that it's really going to take those resources. It's going to take that community, that tribe of people that you align with to really help you find the path. So just know that we're here to support. We're here to provide that information. All right, so this next question is going to go to Sheila because Sheila is our expert in this area. How do essential oils play a part in detoxifying the body?
Okay, where do we start, right? I know I mentioned it briefly earlier that I know lemon oil is a great way to start the day in some water and just kind of, I'll do that sometimes and put that in there. And then I will use, I love frankincense. Frankincense it's called the king of oils. We always say, if in doubt, use frankincense, right? So we use that for a lot of things. Very, very helpful. Other things too, and I know you mentioned it, Jamie. You mentioned cilantro, so I know cilantro is a binder as well. And cilantro is great as well, and I know it's in some of our supplements too that we have. So it is a great product to have as well. And so by using some of those oils, it can support the body in kind of cleansing, detoxifying, right? And so depending on what those needs are, and so it's going to be kind of general, but and it depends on the needs, right? So everyone's needs are going to be different. Sometimes people need, they're already kind of in that clean area, right? So they just need some extra support. And then other people are like, oh, I need a lot of support, right? So it might be starting with smaller things. And one of the things I am going to be talking about next weekend in my space is a 90-day detox that it's going to kind of start you small with, a couple of things and kind of work its way up. But I know for me, I absolutely love lemon. I love lime. Lime is great too. It's great for the lymphatic system. So that's one thing that I love to use to support my body in that way with different protocols. If I'm having inflammation or dealing with that, I like to use copaiba. Copaiba oil is great. It's also very calming. So it's a great oil for that. We have it in a couple other products too that you can use topically. So lots of different ways to support the body there, just depending on how you want to do that. And we use 3 different ways. You can use the oils topically, so you can use them on your skin. You can use some of them internally. So, and then you can also use them aromatically, so you can diffuse them. So those are great ways too that you can put those essential oils around you and help, bring in, whether it's something, emotional, right? You want that emotional support. Like Kate was saying, it's so important, right? That we have that. And sometimes we need that. And essential oils are great in that area as well, because they can support our bodies in those different areas. So hopefully that helps kind of answer real quickly. I'm excited about next weekend too. This is going to be fun to give some more details and to talk to some people. People have questions. They want to know more information. I will definitely be there to give
Can
that
we
information.
just bring back scratch and sniff, only bit like scratch and sniff samples of essential oils? Wouldn't that be fantastic? Like
That would be pretty cool.
Like, all these oils she's talking about, like, what do I like? Send me a little scratch and sniff. I love it. I love it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Okay. So next question here. How can I differentiate between healthy emotional expression in relationships and toxic emotional cycles? This is a deep question. This is a great question. I think it's something that I've gone through over my life of looking, okay, is this an emotional cycle? Is this a toxic cycle that I'm in? Because I keep seeing it reoccurring in my life, like these different people with the same, unhealthy emotional expression. So I think this is a great question, and I'll let Jody start, and I'm sure Kate has some points on this one as well.
Oh, yes, I'm sure she does too. Yeah, it's so important to recognize exactly what you just said, Jamie, which is, do you see this continually coming up for you? And is it something that's serving and supporting you, or is it not? Because often we are replaying those same patterns over and over again. And there can be a lot of, warning signs for that. Is it, again, making you feel better about yourself or not? It's making you feel worse. We can also look at things like Sheila had mentioned earlier, some of those, her sweet tooth. And so we can look at some of our habits and our behaviors. Are they coming from a place of, this is now an emotional coping strategy for you, where you're leaning on a substance or food of some kind for that support to not process and not deal with those emotions. And when we're looking at relationships, there are so many different warning signs versus our healthy signs. Our healthy signs are, if you are feeling strong and positive in your intuition, if you're feeling safe, if you are showing those healthy boundaries, if there's that mutual respect for those boundaries, and if there's that support going again both ways. Often you'll see that maybe it's only a one way of support, or there's a lot of control, or there's a lot of negative emotions that are coming up on a regular basis. We can get into, even in, our relationships where we really, really care about the other person, we can get in toxic patterns with people. Is it like a vicious cycle of, when this happens, then this is going to happen, and then it's going to spiral. So really looking at what I call, when we're talking about emotions, there's a thing in psychology called the window of capacity. And I talk about it all the time with my clients. My clients like to nickname it the window of okayness, where we feel like, I've got this, I can handle this, it's figure outable. And that can be alone, or that can be in a relationship. But when things really ramp up into things like anxiety and anger and jealousy and fear, or they ramp down into that depression and isolation and withdrawing, and you see that happening in these wild swings in your relationship, or it's all going one direction or the other, or within yourself, there are signs that something's not working in a very healthy way, right? There's not that healthy expression. Are we able to do exactly what Kate mentioned earlier? Our emotions are actually physiological responses, and they're meant to be felt and released. Okay. Every day we have these emotions that, they rise like a wave and then we release them. If you're not releasing them, that's not a healthy emotional expression. That can be a toxic cycle because then we're holding on to that. And I'll let her speak more to that. But it's so important to see, am I just stuffing things down? Or am I allowing it to be released? Am I validating my own emotions in my relationships? Are those being validated? And are we able to figure it out, whether it's as a partnership and any kind of relationship that you have, and just even for yourself, really validating and acknowledging without judgment your own emotions, and then having a healthy way to release those. So I'm definitely going to pass this to Kate because I feel like she and I work together on this topic so often that, she can really speak to, are you holding on to those things in an unhealthy way? Or what does that healthy expression look like?
Yeah, thanks, Jody. So powerful what you shared too, because, when you talk about habits emotionally, if you're feeling anxiety, if you're having depression, if you're experiencing those things, you have some emotional patterns and habits that aren't serving you. And so it's important to look at that stuff. But, what's interesting is, again, because Jody and I we work really collectively so much, and your subconscious is always trying to keep you alive and safe, but your subconscious is actually not emotional. Your subconscious will trigger you to have an emotion, but your subconscious will sometimes direct your thoughts to do things to keep you safe. So when we look at, differentiating between healthy emotions and unhealthy emotions, it's really the meaning that we give to it. So emotions are meant to be felt, whether they're positive or negative. It's a vibration of energy. And so that energy is made by the body. It's meant to be felt and it's meant to move along. And I always show it like a wave. You produce an emotion, you feel an emotion, and you process the emotion. And it doesn't have to take very long. It can take just a few seconds. But if you're habitually feeling a certain way, well, now you've got an unhealthy emotional pattern. And so it's really taking a step back and asking, how am I feeling most of the time? And if you can't recognize it, ask a trusted friend. What do you hear me say all the time? How do I feel? And getting support from a coach or someone in that way to help you identify sometimes the patterns, because sometimes we're in our own environment and we can't recognize it, even though we're feeling it so powerfully every day. And so if we're not allowing that expression of emotion, then we're suppressing it. And if we're suppressing it, we've got an unhealthy pattern, and we're going to create those emotional cycles, those emotional patterns. We're going to feel that. We're going to attract more toxicity from other people, because it becomes our whole being. And so understand that when we feel a negative emotion, we should not be fearful of that. Emotions are communication from your body. And again, even if it's something that we don't want to feel, it's meant to communicate something and process along. So it's never about not feeling. You're a human. You are meant to feel. And so understanding a healthy emotional expression is just understanding that whatever you feel, you feel. We're the ones that apply meaning to it. Is anger a good thing or a bad thing? Is it appropriate or not appropriate? It's not about judging it. It's about, okay, I feel angry right now. And what is that communicating, right? And from there, that's a way that you can say, okay, I feel angry and I'm choosing to let this go. I'm choosing to release it. We'll just help that energy go in motion. The emotions are meant to move. And so having a healthy emotional expression is identifying what you feel and then releasing what you feel. And then you can make decisions. Then your thoughts can become more clear and more focused. You know, I'm feeling a certain way may indicate, okay, I need to do something physically about my health, or I need to ask for help in this area, or I need to change this relationship, or change this job, or change this situation, or add this thing in, or remove this. You can have so much more clarity of thought when you allow your emotions to happen versus suppressing those emotions. A lot of times we don't want to deal with it because we've given it meaning that it's negative. It's not negative, it's communication. And so it may not feel good in the moment, right? And that's okay. There's plenty of times I've felt terrible and I'm like, okay, I'm choosing to release this. And what do I need to understand about that? And that can give you really some huge power. It's a lot harder to ask those questions of what do I need to learn or what do I need to do if we're suppressing that energy and suppressing that energy, because then we're feeling it all the time. And then emotions now disrupting you, not only physically by disrupting tissues and muscles and organs and glands, but it's also affecting your clarity of thought and your nervous system and puts you in this place of fight or flight. So suppressing and trapping and not dealing or not allowing emotions creates that toxicity essentially. And so allowing that to be felt and moved out and knowing that, okay, you know what, I feel this way and I'm choosing to let it go. I feel it and I'm choosing to let it go. You'll find that you'll have a new emotion come up and a new emotion come up. And you'll get more in tune with your body. And that's really creating more of a healthy cycle.
Beautiful. Well said. You know, I'm going to take this to a personal level. I had just had a conversation last weekend with a very close friend of mine who she has experienced toxic relationships in the past. And she has a very dysregulated body from the trauma that she's gone through in her life. And she is, definitely working on many different levels to heal and regenerate and, transform her life. But she's in a new relationship right now. And past relationships start to come up in your mind and in your experiences and your emotions. And for her, she encountered a situation where she was on this at this event on a kind of a date with this new guy that she's experiencing. And he kind of introduced her into an environment where she didn't feel safe. And when she did not feel safe, she tried to voice that she didn't feel safe. And he just said, "You're fine. I got you," and tried to dismiss it. And it got to the point where she just went into sheer fight and flight. Like her nervous system took over and she was in fight or flight. And she became very violent, just lashing out. And this is a budding relationship. And as she's explaining this to me the next day, just trying to process and detox her emotions from everything, we had to really address some things inside of her. Okay, well, let's go back and let's compare this new relationship with the past relationship. What was different? What was same? And observing those things that maybe the pattern is within herself or is the pattern within the people that she's attracting. And in this case, the gentleman that she's seeing, the things that he did was so different and so healing than what the experience of her past relationships have been. He went above and beyond once he realized that her nervous system was shot and that she was not feeling safe. He did every measure to make sure that she felt safe and to care for her and to calm her. But what was the same was the emotional trauma in her. It was the same responses that she gave. It was the same feelings and toxic patterns in her. And so really being able to identify, because it's so easy to get into that and say, they're all the same. I give up. I'm, ditching this guy because, they don't understand. Why don't men understand that, I need to be safe, or, something along those lines. But really identifying where is the toxic behavior. And it doesn't mean that you are a toxic person. It means that you may have some things in your life that are still affecting you today from a toxic past. And really identifying that will help you to release those things and to tune into that, to tune into self, and really begin the healing process. And I think for her, just even finding gratitude for her the next day to say, I was safe. My nervous system was alarmed, but here's how I know I can protect myself and communicate that safety in the future. And then to know that this gentleman took note of that and said, yep, I don't ever want you to feel that way with me again, And so really identifying what is, because it can be troubling to sit there and feel that way when you're in that toxic pattern in life, or from the past, to really identify, is this them? And you just want to go into a cave, you want to go into a hole, and bury yourself. But really, like you said, there's a team of people here that support each level. We are not just physical beings. We are not just emotional beings. We are not just spiritual beings. We are mind, body, and spirit. And each element of our body works together. And we really do have to start addressing the whole person, spirit, mind, and body. And that's what I love about this collective. I love that we are really coming from a very holistic approach, with people who are very knowledgeable in every area to support that journey, and really identifying things in your life that need to be healed and transformed. And I would also say, whatever comes to the surface in quantum healing, whatever is coming to the surface for you is where you need to put your attention to first. Don't go any deeper than what is at the surface level. If at the surface level it is food, that means that is the first layer that you need to address. And let's go through that process, and let's find an area that you feel confident in. And when you're confident, when you're secure in that process, and you feel not overwhelmed, not consumed, but you feel like you've established homeostasis in your life in that area, then it's time to come to the next level. What's coming to the surface? Is it environmental? Is it relationships? Is it emotional? Find that next layer and start to attack that. And you will eventually build these foundational stones in your life and transform. And I always encourage my clients to start journaling. If you're not a writer, you don't like to write, maybe your handwriting, you can't read it yourself, and you're more of a technology person, start making audio recordings of just moments of just feeling and thinking. I know I had to go through this a lot of times, in the car was when I would start to feel like I'm alone. I have 40 minutes to get to my location, and I'm beginning to process things. And so just hitting record and verbally processing those things. And I think that, I like to give the example. If you looked at a picture of yourself from 10 years ago and you're like, what happened? I do not look like that anymore, and you totally look different, whether it's better or worse. Or if you looked at yourself 5 years ago or 2 years ago or last year. But that process, you looked at yourself in the mirror every single day and you didn't notice that change happening. You didn't notice. However, if you were to document and put those memorial stones in the ground and remember how far you've come, I think it's going to be encouraging for you to be able to look back and give yourself the credit and the validation that you have changed, you have transformed, you've made progress. And I think it's so important to catalog that, to be able to remind yourself, I am not in this toxic relationship anymore, or I am not in the toxic overload that I used to be in, or I have the support team that I need. So just kind of, I know we're coming up on the 10:30 hour. I know it flies by when we have these roundtables. I love it so much. But I just wanted to give everybody right before we close here at 10:30 Central Standard Time to kind of, let's go through really quick. On the 24th, which you can have access to this event, what is going to be your subject matter that you're going to be addressing for that hour that is your workshop hour in the virtual space? Jody, you want to go ahead and go first?
Absolutely. I'm so looking forward to this event. I think it's going to be impactful and very powerful for so many people. I'm going to be speaking specifically on breaking the cycle. So, strategies for identifying and addressing those toxic thought and relationship patterns that we've been discussing today. I'm really looking forward to sharing more and just more in depth about that at the event on the 24th.
Beautiful. I love it. So important. Sheila.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to be talking a little bit more about the 90-day detox that I'm going to be working through with my group, and then also to some simple swaps that we talked about even today. I'm gonna have some of that information and just talk about how you can make some of those small changes on a daily basis and things that you use. So there'll be some information on there about those. Go from this to this, use this, and just more natural things that we can do and start living cleaner.
Love it. I love it. And Kate.
Yeah, I'm going to be talking about the energy of toxins. So you can have physical toxins, you can have energy vibrations of toxins, and I'll be talking a little bit about the difference. So I'll be wrapping up not only emotions, but how energy affects the body physically and emotionally. So looking forward to it.
Beautiful. And of course, we're going to have more practitioners. We're going to have more vendors. It is an all-day event. It's come and go as you please. So you'll be able to find practitioners every hour and just really tune into their workshops, whichever ones resonate with you and you feel that, would be applicable to your life. Tune in. You're going to be able to interact with these practitioners. You can ask them questions. You can come on screen. You can stay off screen. It's totally up to you. We're going to have vendors with lots of resources in the vendor space, and really just, like I said, finding the next thing that resonates with you, and diving into that world of the toxic free life. So I encourage you to grab tickets. If you use the coupon code "Let's Go," all one word, you're going to be able to get into that event for just $1. So that's a $35 ticket amount, but you can get in there for $1 if you use our code. I know everybody has their own codes as well. I think Jody's and Kate. So just feel free to reach out to any one of us and get a code to get in there for just $1. And I think that's pretty much it. So feel free, if you didn't get questions asked or answered, you can go ahead and shoot us a message and we will address those in the event as well. And also know that if you can't attend on Saturday, even if you register, you're still going to be able to have access to that all of the events or all of the workshops and everything within the event for 72 hours after the event ends. So you're going to have all of those resources. And if you'd like to keep up to date with everything that we've got going on, next month we're going to be addressing cortisol and the cortisol level in the body, which plays nicely into everything we've talked about today. But when you join our community for $35 a month, you get the first month free. You're going to have access to all of the replays. You're going to have access to all the workshops, all of the practitioners, all of the vendors, all of the resources that we provide in that community. And you're going to have your tickets to each event automatically. So lots and lots of value within that community, and we encourage you to join. So again, go to www.join-ahs.org/get-started, and you'll be able to find us there. So thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for our experts to speak on these subject matters today. What a big topic. It's so broad, but so important, right?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. And we will see you on the 24th. Bye, everyone.